Thank you, Honorable Tsotetsi. Let's pass Honorable Mhlongo.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I want to say that firstly, the NPA should really hang its head in shame for not only failing Sherelle Zondi and all the women who have been raped and violated by Umdoso, but they should be ashamed for their daily persistent failures in the different courtrooms across the country to the victims of rape, attempted rape, gender-based violence, domestic violence, and femicide. Now, the failure of the NPA to ensure that Umdoso is successfully prosecuted will make more women afraid to come out, for they know that they will be failed by the NPA and they will never find justice. So we must not shy away from raising that fact. That is now a fact that women will be very scared to come forward on such cases, especially when they have to go up against such powerful individuals like Omodoso, powerful individuals who are perceived to be men of the cloth, who are running big churches like this. Now, you will remember, Chair, that Sherelle Zondi was a little girl at the age of 14 when she was raped and her childhood stolen from her by Umdoso. She bravely testified in court for the whole world to see. Yet the NPA has failed her and the girls and women who were raped by Umdoso or who were sexually violated. Now, Advocate Batoyi must tell us what kind of a message does the NPA want to send to young girls and women in South Africa about not only their safety, but their cry and need to find justice when they are violated. Now, Judge Skuman in the judgment delivered a scathing judgment on the actions of Mr. Ntwela, Gobedan, and Gordon on their irregularities and their conduct. Now, if you check paragraph 40 of the judgment, it portrays a miscarriage of justice. The prosecutors were unethical and incompetent. Those are the words used by Judge Skuman. When the lawyers of the state are incompetent, it leaves the victims vulnerable. Where should victims go when we have incompetent and unethical lawyers of the state who are supposed to be, as Advocate Batoyi explained, they are lawyers of the people. Now, in paragraph 47, Chair, we read it, we saw that the judgment labels the cross-examination of accused number 1, Timothy Umdoso, as desultory and in the extreme. It says that there was no thought that went into cross-examination. And it further says that cross-examination was shallow and lacking the intention to uncover the truth. That leaves little to be desired, and it says a lot about the NPA. Maybe as I quote lastly for the from the judgment, Judge Skuman further finds that the cross-examination of accused 2 and 3 actually amounted to no cross-examination at all. Now, this begs the question, this cross-examination and this whole trial of Umdoso was broadcasted live. I do not understand how the NPA could not pick up the problems to actually begin with. I'm really lost how they could not pick up that there's a problems in this case when it was broadcasted live for all to see. Now, NPA should really be embarrassed after having failed all of us as women and the girl child of this country. You know, after the judgment that was delivered, they should have gone, perhaps tried to save face by going to or putting up a proper appeal case. As they say, they want to appeal this matter. So we're hoping that they save face and perhaps put a solid case on this matter. And I want to know what guarantees are they that when they appeal, and what measures are they putting in place to ensure that when they appeal, Umdoso does not apply for a mistrial, how best to ensure that we safeguard this case and we don't lose it in terms of NPA does not lose the case and on the basis of a mistrial. Perhaps Umdoso saying there's a double jeopardy on this matter. Now, soon after the judgment, NPA says they are trying to save face. They get SAPS and Home Affairs to open a case on the matter of Immigration Act. we get embarrassed again, Chairperson, as the country and all of us who are interested in issues of gender-based violence and femicide in this country. And NPA itself gets embarrassed. We even fail on small technical issues. I don't know why the NTPP is mentioning that case of having arrested Omotoso, because they failed to deliver the man in court within 48 hours, as stated in the Constitution of the Republic. He could not appear. So we're failing even on small issues, technical issues, Chair. I'm worried about this case when we fail on a small technical issue. Now, did the NPA get an explanation as to why a WhatsApp group was created for the witnesses and why the content that was posted in that group has since been deleted? Is this a norm that witnesses in a case get to be put in a WhatsApp group? If not, why was it done in this case? In fact, Chair, the way things are going with this case, I'll not be wrong by assuming that the NPA finds joy in repeatedly triggering and doing secondary violation to women and children by their consistent failure to prosecute accused in cases of rape, gender-based violence, domestic violence, and femicide. Now, perhaps, Chair, I was listening to the NTPP trying to pacify all of us here, telling us about cases they've won. She does not mention similar cases where the state has lost because of the incompetence of the prosecutors. But because we are being pacified, we are being managed, we are told about cases they have won. We're not interested in those cases. Thank you, cases you have won. There was justice for the witnesses. We are concerned about the cases you lose. We are concerned about this case of Omotoso. Another disturbing factor, Chair, in this case is now the death or the case where Ms. Pamela Mabini, has, the whistleblower on this case, was killed a few weeks before the judgment was delivered on Omotoso. More interesting, the person that the police identified as a person of interest in this case has also since been killed in a taxi rank in front of many people. So this indicates to us, we are wondering if this is linked to the case of Omotoso or it's linked to another case. So this is another case that we'll be watching with keen interest as the economic freedom fighters, because we're interested in knowing if the killing of Ms. Pamela Mabini was linked to this case of Omotoso, and if this will not be another case that SAPS fails on it and labels it as a cold case, or SAPS will do their job, hand it over to the NPA, and will again have incompetent prosecutors who will ruin this case like they've done with this one of Omotoso. Chair, I'm aggrieved, I'm annoyed, I'm angry at the fact that the NTPP says that in her report, like the rest of us, that they are shocked by the judgment. They can't be shocked about the judgment. We are where we are today because of the incompetence of her own prosecutors in her office. So it's not true that they are shocked. They are not shocked. Everyone could see when the case was ongoing that there's a problem. On paragraph 5.2 of the presentation by the NTPP, it says that investigation into the conduct of Advocate Ntlelo and the other prosecutors involved in the Omotoso matter started in August 2024. Yet there's no report that has been finalized on their conduct to this day, Chair. So I want to know, since they are still busy with the investigations, the prosecutors that they are investigating who are involved in this matter, a very sensitive matter that seeks to that has tarnished the image of the NPA, are these prosecutors still at work? That's number one. If they are still at work, do they still get allocated cases of rape, attempted rape, gender-based violence, domestic violence, and femicide? If so, why? Are they suspended pending the finalization of the inquiry? If they are suspended, are they suspended with or without pay? And if they are not suspended, they are still reporting in the office. I'm interested in knowing, what do they do on a daily basis? Today is a Friday, is a normal working day. If those prosecutors are still in the office, what is it that they are doing? to ensure that they also do not jeopardize this investigation into their conduct. Now, I want to know also from the NDPP, on cases of misconduct and irregularities of prosecutors, how long does it take to investigate and have a report on a matter? Do you perhaps give timelines on matters like this or not? If you do normally have deadlines or timelines, was the deadline to finalize this report submitted, given to the investigators, since the report and the investigation started in August 2024? If not, why not? If it was given, was it met or was it not met? If it was not met, why not? Does the NPA have mechanisms in place to track proceedings of cases allocated to prosecutors, or you only pick up problems with the way a prosecutor was handling a matter after a judgment has been delivered? Now, Chair, I want to raise another matter. Also Judge Skuman, I don't think should be spared from this, because in her judgment, she makes the victims to somehow look like they are to blame for the failures of the NPA. Now, Chairperson, another thing we're interested on is we need perhaps, to get the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development to review the way cases like this, cases of rape, attempted rape, murder, gender-based violence, domestic violence are handled. We need to amend certain sections of our constitution, because I tell you for free, it's a pity how the first 3 court appearances of an accused person on a sensitive case of rape, murder, attempted rape, domestic violence, the first 3 or even more appearances, the justice is only interested in one person, is interested on the rights of the perpetrator or the rights of the accused. First 3 or 4 or more appearances of the accused when they appear in court, we're only talking about their right to get bail. Nobody is interested about the victim. Nobody cares how the victim feels. It's an indictment on our constitution, Chair. It tells us that something must be done. It ought to be changed. And the way questions are posed to victims of rape and gender-based violence or sexual assault in court leaves little to be desired, Chair. Witnesses are asked to recall what they were wearing, what their victim was wearing. Chair, sitting here, I don't remember what I was even wearing on Monday. It's not something I can remember. There's no, people have other things that they're busy with in life. And after being sexually violated and traumatized like that, I don't think it's easy for victims to actually recall and remember everything that had happened to them. Lastly, Chair, as we sit here today, we're speaking about this matter, and I heard that they were mentioning that they are prioritizing DNA. As we sit here, Chair, the SAPS Forensic Lab in Pretoria office, the roof is leaking, the building is in a dire condition. The whole upper floor of forensic investigators for weeks has not been reporting for duty. And this contributes to the continuous failure or delays of evidences in order to resolve cases of rape, murder, and similar cases. Yet we are made to believe that there's a will to resolve such sensitive cases, while evidence continues to be compromised and delayed. Now, the backlog that is going to come from that office, I know it's not a fault of the NDPP, is now an issue of SAPS, but the disaster of the backlog that is going to ensue from that office is going to delay a lot of cases that are with the NPA, Chair. And this is really a problem for us. So please, Chair, let's not allow the NDPP to pacify us and seek to manipulate us in telling us about cases they've won. Let's hear about the cases they have lost, how many cases they have lost, and what have they done to those people, those prosecutors who lost cases because of their incompetence and their irregularities or their misconduct in handling the cases. So we must not be pacified by cases that they've won. Is they ought to ensure that they win cases. It's their job as lawyers of the people to win cases on behalf of the people. So we must not be drawn into perhaps be asked to clap hands for a swim for fishing. We are more concerned about the cases that they are losing and their failures.
For a
So,
fish for swimming, Honorable Mhlongo. You said for a swim for you said for a swim for a swim for fishing. For a fish for swimming.
Yeah, a fish for swimming. No, no, Che. It can't be that we're clapping for a fish for swimming, Che. Winning cases is part of their job. They ought to do it. They ought to win the cases. So we are not going to clap hands for that. We are going to call them out when they are busy losing cases, especially high-profile cases like this, Chair. So I'll leave it there, Chair. Thank you.